dream is over for another year. The tinfoil cutout is back in Tom's wardrobe. It was a foggy affair on Saturday night, and the unbeaten streak, in all competitions at least, is over for now. But how are we feeling? Did the U's fare well against a team 40 places above them in the pyramid? Welcome to Under the Abbey Stand, where we're going to talk about just that. I'm your host. My name is Jordan Warland, and joining me is a rather terrific FA Cup special panel. First up, and I nearly made a Shay Given joke, but I'm not going to. Let's move on. First up, Tom, are you over the disappointment of not being in Berlin watching the Legends team? That's a much safer intro, isn't it?
When we finish this and we stop recording, you are going to have to tell me what that joke was, because that's very much up my alleyway, I think. I mean, look, seeing Wes Houlihan in a Cambridge shirt again, regardless of the format, regardless of how many people are involved, and regardless of where it is in the world, would always be a pleasure, I guess. So a little bit gutted. I mean, I suppose there's, the argument we could have done the double header. We could have zoomed out to, I think it was in Cottbus, which is in like the middle of nowhere in East Germany, and then zoomed back for a late kickoff against Birmingham. But we didn't. We're lazy. We picked arguably the more important of the two. And yet still somehow came away disappointed. So, such as life.
If we got to Germany, would have seen a very respectable runners-up finish. Did you watch any of the live stream?
I didn't, to be honest with you. When it first came,
what a letdown! Yeah, it's as if you've got better things to do on a Friday night than watch a bunch of 40-plus lads. Running around in Cambridge shirts.
A couple of mates asked me if I was watching it as well, and I was like, even on a Friday, like even me on a Friday in January, I've got better things to do. And then I realised I was watching the Wrexham game, which arguably was quite entertaining, to be fair, but arguably not a better thing to be doing on a Friday. But yeah, such as life, we move on.
Are you going to tell everyone listening what your highlight from the Wrexham game was?
Probably, I'd probably have to narrow it down to one of the many shots of Ryan Reynolds that he kept panning back to. Sam Smith missed a one-on-one, which was a shame. Ali McCoist, absolutely loved Sam Smith's performance. Absolutely loved it.
You didn't go with the answer I thought you were going to go with, so I'll give you a chance to score the rebound. You mentioned those Ryan Reynolds clips. Any ones of those in particular that kind of rung true to you?
Well, he missed their third goal, I think.
What?
Yeah. And their third goal was in like the 75th minute as well. Unforgivable stuff. Makes my effort at Newcastle look somewhat amateur. I guess it was amateur, to be fair. But
what happened at Newcastle?
I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me.
Completing the panel, and now in a different bedroom from when we started this pod, and a man who would never miss an important FA Cup goal. It's Matthew Caspell. Good evening, Matthew.
Mate, some good vamping, I expect. I actually wasn't listening, so for the first time, I'm just going blind on the pod. But yeah, I had to relocate.
Oh, Jord was slagging you off. Should have heard him.
Was he?
Yeah,
of course he was. Get in line.
I was talking about how that veterans Legends team were all much younger than you still.
I was about to say, you and me would have fit. We'd have fit right in.
Did you watch any of that? Did you watch any of that, or are you also claiming that you got better things to do on a Friday night?
On a Friday night, a bunch of blokes, middle-aged blokes in a sports hall in Germany, playing very low tempo by all accounts football. yeah, I do have better things to do than that. Yeah,
that really was your opportunity for parenting, that wasn't it? Because all the golf and all the football that you actually do attend, you got to say that you have to draw a line at watching a five-a-side tournament.
Force my missus. That's it. It's going on the big telly. Yeah, this guy's a legend. He played for United 25 years ago.
I did watch the first game or parts of the first game. I can't remember who we played. We went 1-0 up and then lost 3-1. But as I logged in, Wes Houlihan was just playing a 1-2 to himself off the wall. It was terrific. Very much worth it for that moment. Right. Shall we talk about that FA Cup game then, lads? I know we all want to focus on the league and getting those autos, but we'll give this one some lip service for a few minutes, I guess. Tomo, let's start with you, mate. 24 hours or so on since the full-time whistle. What's your main feeling or your emotion when you think back to the game, and why?
it's quite a hard one to reflect on, I think. It was a bit of a strange encounter, I felt. And like, obviously, like, look, we're clearly disappointed to have lost the game, and obviously you expect that, and it's focus on the league and all that sort of stuff that comes out of it, and there's a handful of positives to take from it, in terms of parts of our performance, obviously Kaikai's goals, etc., etc. It kind of felt really reminiscent of a game last season, I think, in a way, just in the way that, like, it didn't feel like there was loads between the teams, and yet in terms of, well, until the sort of final 5 or 10 minutes, there was like a massive goal. I think Birmingham were 3-0 up, with like 10 minutes to go or so.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of paints a picture of a game where a championship team come and play a League Two team, and their quality just, they basically just dominate it, and that wasn't really how the game went, I felt. Like if you compare it to the game that we played at St Andrews, I think back in February, where they totally took us apart, it's like levels above us in every single part of the pitch. It was pretty different from that. It felt more competitive, like, on the pitch, but a bit like last season, it was errors, it was poor defending, it was naive defending at times, and I guess where Birmingham's quality did show was, sort of in how they could take advantage of it, and that's exactly what they did, really, and found themselves 3-0 up without having really had to work much for it, or really had to kind of put in a performance that would be, I guess, showing the level that they're at. But I think it's also a game that probably reminds you a bit of where we are. Missing certain players, light up top, I felt, and I guess it's just a reminder that, look, we are where we are. Been on obviously a very good run, but there's still a lot of work to do. We're not totally invincible. I think we've come through a tricky run in terms of the fixtures we've had, the teams we played against, and obviously the players that we've been missing pretty admirably, really. And this was just a game too far at the end of the day. We'll obviously go into certain moments and certain performances, I guess, in more detail. But just a bit of a frustrating way to kind of go out of the competition, really, because I think if you're going to get beat by a side like Birmingham, I think you want to come out of it going cut above, like what can you do? And although we lost the game and we weren't awful, we just weren't quite at it enough, I think.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. And your point there about Saturday night's performance reminding you of last season is exactly the thought that was going through my head when we conceded that first goal. I mean, we'll talk about the goals and all the match action in detail in a moment. But yeah, that goal going in at the time just made me think we've had a few chances like that we've given away this season, but teams haven't taken advantage. Whereas last year, you could guarantee that most of the league were, good enough or ruthless enough to tuck that away. So yeah, I had a similar feeling when that first goal went in. Caspell, how about yourself? Do you feel happy with what you saw from United on Saturday night? Do you feel we gave it a good go?
It's a bit tough, isn't it? Obviously, championship side, packed full of quality. They didn't rotate very much. Again, put my hands up and say I don't know loads about that Birmingham squad, but when I saw the squad numbers, they had like 4 or 5 players from 1 to 11. I was like, oh shit.
This is what people come to us for.
Where the 40 pluses, yeah.
Yeah.
How could we do anything against that team? There were several single digit numbers in that squad.
That's it, yeah. That's it. That's me and my badges. They must be good. But it's a funny thing. Like, am I happy with what I saw? I think not really. I think we just played beneath ourselves. I think we played beneath our level that we've hit in recent weeks and months. And on that basis, as a standalone, I guess you say no. But the reason I'm saying no is quite positive. The reason I'm able to sit here and say, no, I'm not that happy with that performance is we have set a really high standard for ourselves, particularly in the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, that we didn't come up to during this game. Notwithstanding that Birmingham are obviously a really good side, took their chances incredibly efficiently. So whilst nothing happened in the first 30 minutes of that game, as soon as it did, it was them scoring basically, and then them doubling up fairly soon after. So Wasn't like happy. I think we did in the end give it a good go, but only right at the end. Obviously, we'll come on to the goals. And it's one of those funny things where that last sort of 10 minutes or 12 minutes of the game, to me, kind of demonstrated that there was a lot more in that game for us. I think it was a really presentable opportunity to actually progress in the cup and cause an upset. And we only really properly unearthed that in the final 5 minutes of the game, really, it felt like, when the pressure was sort of really starting to build up. And I appreciate that's the nature of football sometimes. You know, it's unrealistic that we would be able to hit that level of intensity and start at 0-0 necessarily that way. I just think it took us a bit of a while to figure out that Birmingham aren't actually all that good on the day necessarily. And it probably just took us a bit too long to work that out, in my opinion. And obviously individual errors are individual errors. It was quite a poor set of errors that I know we're going to come on to.
Some costly ones, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there is a weird logic, though. Like, if you're going to do all that shit and perform like that, do it in the cup. Like, get it done in the cup. There's no shame or disgrace in us getting knocked out of the cup by a championship team. It shouldn't derail. What is important is how we respond at Fleetwood, and that this doesn't have some kind of weird knock-on effect and influence how we approach the league games. Like, you want to just get back straight onto that momentum, as you say, like focus on the league, and all the cliches are there. But we do have a proper league campaign that we need to get back on the rails with, starting with that Fleetwood game next week.
Yeah, I think I agree there, mate. We didn't do ourselves justice given the levels that we've set in recent weeks. A couple of post-match comments from Chopper for both of you to get your teeth into. Tom, you first, mate. Neil Harris said post-match, the game was about moments at each end. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I think particularly moments at our end, really. It is kind of where the game got away from us a little bit. Just unfortunately not kind of being up to it in crucial moments, and you know, we can dissect each goal individually, but realistically, you're looking at the performance from someone like Rossi, for example, who, you know, let's call a spade, played a big part in each of their 3 goals, really, and put in a pretty, you know, he had a tricky evening. It wasn't his day. And then obviously at our end, you know, you're not talking about loads and loads of creative chances, but you know, Knight has a decent one in the first half, which, you know, we can't quite make the most of. You wonder if that's maybe like at the other end of the pitch, that's Kyogo on the end of it. Can he do a bit better? That's the difference in quality showing maybe a little bit. And then yeah, I mean, you know, Kaikai, you know, comes on and obviously makes an impact and has a couple of moments, you know, in a positive way. And then it's just like a couple of sort of half openings, I suppose, like right at the death, and like it is what it is. But I think he's right to say that, because like I guess we've just said, there wasn't like loads between the two teams really, and I think in terms of the way that we sort of put it on Birmingham, we, you know, like arguably we've just shown them a bit too much respect really, and not sort of not really gone at it in the right way and in the right intensity that we would if it was, for example, a team at the top end of League Two, until probably too late. But realistically, you know, there's a world in which that game finishes like 1-1 or something and goes to penalties, and it's just like us shooting ourselves in the foot is really the moments that decided the game. But yeah, it's just disappointing, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's a fair statement. I think it's an accurate statement. And yeah, I suppose it's so often the way in the FA Cup, isn't it? Like, you know, if you again rewind to like, you know, Newcastle away again, like I suppose it's the obvious example to keep going back to. But like, you know, like in terms of moments, you're talking about like loads of the saves that Mitov makes, that sort of stuff. You know, the ball ricocheting off John Joe Shelby's thigh rather than going directly through, which meant the goal was correctly ruled to be onside. And all, you know, and obviously all this sort of stuff. Like the FA Cup, because it pits teams against each other, I guess do come from different levels. It is going to be how do you perform in those moments? And unfortunately, we just weren't good enough, really, is frankly it. And it's, you know, it doesn't need to be like a disaster, like Caspell said. There doesn't need to be any knock-on effect. There doesn't need to be any inquest into it. We just had one of them nights in some situations, and couldn't quite make it count at the other end.
Yeah, we're going to dive into those moments in just a second, Caspel. But before we do that, post-match, Neil Harris was talking a lot about levels, used the word levels quite a few times. I don't know if you saw the interview, but my question to you is, what do you think Harris and the squad will have learned from Saturday night? What do you think they're going to take away from that?
I think it's just ruthlessness, right? If you make mistakes against a team of that caliber, then you will almost certainly be punished. Like percentage chance that you're going to be punished when we make the style of mistakes we did is pretty high, way higher than League Two. It reminded me a little bit of that FA Cup game we had years ago against Sheffield United at home. I don't know if you remember this, but it was like similar sort of thing where we ponied up a couple of chances and they just took them so ruthlessly without having really done anything in the game. Like, this lot are nothing special, but we're 2-0 down out of nowhere, basically. I did watch this game on TV in Adelaide after a full day of Ashes cricket, so my perception of this one might be a little bit off. But
we also got promoted in that year, right? So I like these comparisons.
Yeah,
did we get promoted that year? Yeah.
We got promoted the following year, but the same season.
Yeah,
I'll be the Panickety one there.
Oh, so same season. There you go. Same. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right. Yeah. Oh, right. Pedant. Jesus.
Come on.
Jesus.
Stop getting seasons wrong.
That's it.
Hey.
But yeah,
at least we saw the FA Cup goals. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. This levels chat is just it's just that, isn't it? I mean, they just took their chances so well. I think what we need to learn from it, we need to use this as a bit of a dry run on how we need to, if we are to get promoted this year. This is what League One, that was a bit of a sort of blueprint of what a League One fixture could look like when we're playing one of the stronger teams in League One. I know also their Championship, but recently League One, and they're not on great form either, so they could be League One again at some point in the near future. I think that's just a demonstration for us, a reminder from last few years of the caliber of teams we should be striving to face by getting promoted. So that's the kind of test we'll be getting at home next season, hopefully in League One.
Right, let's talk about the game then. Coming to you, Tomo. What was your take on the formation? Because first half especially, it looked almost like a 4-4-1-1 with Pelly a lot closer to Apare and yeah, sort of more defined sort of wide players, wingers than we have been playing. What did you think of that formation, and is it something you'd like to see continued next weekend off at Fleetwood?
I think we probably expected that it'd be a setup and a lineup that does pay a bit of respect to Birmingham. I think that's kind of exactly what it was. Very similar to the way we set up at Fulham, if memory serves correct. And that seems to, Caspell just talked about blueprints a little bit there, but this seems to be the blueprint of how we approach games against teams that we expect, will really put us under, really. And it seems to be, you have two centre mids and then Pelly playing in a slightly more advanced position, which we've seen him do really well, to be fair. In weeks gone by, like particularly Chesterfield comes to mind, did pretty well at Fulham as well, to be fair. But yeah, I think like I don't think there's like loads of like talking points from it really. I think it's pretty expected that we're going to line up in a slightly more defensive way. I think that's kind of exactly what it was. I suppose the little bits I'm increasingly unsure about, and this isn't really a slight on anyone's individual performance yesterday, but like I know Purrington's not exactly torn it up since he's came in, but since we signed him, but like, left back sat on the bench with a right back playing in left back sort of thing. Like, I don't know. I get that Gibbons is within the squad like a senior member who's been here for a little while, but that's something that maybe wasn't ideal. Obviously, you're missing Kel Watts, which I think was a surprise. To be fair, wasn't something that I was aware of. That he was going to be suspended. So, yeah, I think look, it was just a case of setting up and just trying to stem what we thought Birmingham would put on us, really. And obviously, I guess it sort of did materialise in that way. But yeah, it was just a case of that, I think.
Yeah, Swindle and I completely missed that in the preview. Was it? He had 2 bookings already in the tournament, so he missed a game.
Yes,
nonsense,
yeah,
mate.
right.
Nonsense. Anyway, Caspell, the first big chance of the night actually fell to United. I think we did pretty well to recycle the ball. Good cross comes in. I can't remember if it was our head or a Birmingham head, but the ball lands back with Ben Knight, who's basically on the penalty spot, and he rifles it over. Real pace on the shot. But what's your take on this chance? Should he have done better? Should he be hitting the target? Are you going to give him some slack because there was a lot of bodies in the box in front of him?
There's a bit of pressure there. I think it's Job who kind of scrambles it around and fashes it towards him. I just think he's flashed at it a bit. It's a bit of panic. The only criticism I'd have is that he's got to put that on target. And I feel like from that distance, that range, if you get that on target, you've got a really good chance of at least forcing a save. Well, yeah, force saves on target or scoring. Very Michael Owen that. I think if he puts it on target, he's got a good chance of scoring a goal, basically. I just think he's hammered it a bit. Don't need to hit it that hard if you're that far out. Think about side footing it, maybe. Like, focus on absolutely getting it on target first. Power second, ideally both. But, you're not expecting people to take all of these chances. I think it stands out because it's one of the only presentable real chances that we had in the entire first half. So the thing I'll say for Knight is that he was very busy in the whole game when he was around, and he was involved in quite a lot of almost all the chances we had. He was basically had some kind of involvement in until obviously late in the game when we started actually scoring the goals. So I will give him credit for being in the right place. Being there to have the opportunity to even get a shot away. But I think he should be hitting the target there.
Yeah. I mean, on that, the opportunities he had on Saturday night, Tom, and there were a couple of other misses in the game. Not all fell to Ben Knight, but it felt like the good ones did. Despite those misses, how exciting is he looking as a prospect over the last few games? How crucial could he be to us having a big second half to the season, do you think?
Yeah, it could be very crucial. It's pretty much what we spoke about after the Walsall game, isn't it? He is one of those players in this squad that has a bit of quality about him, and it's just about how do you kind of extract that. And I think it's something Harris referred to a bit in his post-match interview about. It's good to see him getting in the right sort of positions, and I think that's exactly right. If I'm picking, I'd probably say that I'd arguably like him to be starting more centrally because I think that's probably where he does his best work, and ideally getting as close as possible to the centre forward. I think they're very, very different players and very different styles of playing, but it kind of reminds me of when Berry started really kind of hitting a bit of form when he played for us in League Two. When it was him and Uche playing together, and you want someone like a Knight getting really close to a centre forward, just getting in on the action. Really, obviously not playing as a centre forward, obviously playing in that sort of number 10 position. But I think it is exciting, and we've kind of said right throughout from when he signed to through to now, really, he's the one that if you can unlock that bit of potential, you've got a real player on your hands, and you've got someone who will shoot up the football pyramid, really, if he can do it, and he can do it sort of consistently. So that's the challenge, and hopefully he'll get the opportunity to do that with a bit of a run of games. I think he deserves it as well. Deserves to keep his place, and I think I guess the challenge following the Crew game when he obviously played a big part in the equaliser and obviously scores the penalty right in the last minute was, don't let this be a flash in the pan, and he's managed to repeat that sort of performance one or two times since, so that's a really good sign. Look, he's one of these players that, and we kind of go back to the last time we're in League Two and talk about the promotion season. Then we had a lot of chat about turning ones into threes, which I think is something that's going to be crucial, for us if we are going to get promoted, and particularly if we're going to get a spot in the top three, which has to be the target. He's the sort of player with the quality to really do that, to sort of win a game of football. So for him to be getting first-year run of games, but also to be impacting games in a slightly more noticeable way, I think is probably the most encouraging thing really about it all. I guess the message from Harris will just be as it's been: just keep it going. Because if he can get consistent and he can impact games consistently, there's no way he's a League Two player next season, regardless whether that's with us or with somebody else, really.
Yeah, the cruel thing about that Ben Knight miss, Caspell, was pretty much almost instantly Birmingham go up the other end and take the lead. Talk me through this goal from your perspective. Like, how frustrating a goal was it to watch, given that there was a couple of opportunities for us to clear our lines, and then also pretty horrible deflection off of Job, I think it was at the end, that takes it beyond both Eastwood and Bennett on the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit frustrating, but what I will give Birmingham credit for is they were coming in waves, is what I would say. There was a lot of Birmingham personnel around it. That is the sign of a good team, I think, is being able to continuously keep creating chances when the chances are breaking down, because they had a lot of bodies around it, overloaded. So it was quite a difficult situation. Rossi's header isn't good. It's also not terrible. I think I'm going to give him some relief before Tom analyses the second goal.
No distance on that header, though, was there?
Well, distance is one thing. It's direction, I think, is the main issue, actually. It's just basic stuff, isn't it? Like, I wanted, to be honest, when I watched back the highlights, because you see it one time in the area, I wanted, when I watched back the highlights, think, oh, actually, it's come at him so fast that he has got no choice. It's basically hit him and he's got to go that way. But looking at it, he's got proper time, I think, to like think about his options with that header. And I just think basic rule is like, just put it as safe as you can. And I just think in that moment, he's got an opportunity he could head it behind for a corner. I think he could go left, as in back towards the way the ball had come, and that would have been a bit safer. Heading in the direction he did, unfortunately, straight to the feet of one of their players, is pretty unfortunate. After that, I mean, he puts in a great block, to give him credit. He does put in a really good last-ditch effort, which is a really good piece of defending, so do give him credit where we can. And after that, it just gets unlucky. It just gets a bit thready. Like, that is just one of those, Birmingham have bought a ticket to the raffle by just having so many people around it. It is a bit unfortunate it's ended up in, especially the way it has. I think Eastwood has a good chance to save it if it doesn't take the deflection and then kind of balloon up. So just unfortunate, but again, it's a sign of the quality, I guess, that Birmingham have, is that in those moments you're going to get punished.
Yeah, absolutely. A horrible one on the eye, given the fortune and the deflection there. It's not nice to watch. Neither was the second one, Tom, and you get the joy of dissecting this one. Long ball out, lands with Rossi, tries to take it under control.
So fucking slow. Sorry, Tom, go on. It's just so slow, though. Go on, Walks.
A very cool finish, though. Credit where credit's due. But yeah, Tom.
He's going to the World Cup, that bloke. Jesus. Of course he scored. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, wasn't it? Like, to say the least. I just
say now, Walker made a real point of saying before the game, I'm not missing any goals. I'm not going anywhere during the game. And then as soon as this goal went in, he went, right, I'm off to the bar. Literally stormed out.
Well, that's a good point, because it was an awful time to be sort of mucking around, a few minutes out from half time.
First time Walker's seen any football after the 40th minute of any game this season, I reckon. Go on, Walker, anyway.
Yeah, this year anyway.
Well, calendar year or season? Because that's what we learned earlier. It's important.
Yeah, calendar year. Calendar year. Well, I don't do if buts and maybes, they're absolutes. In this moment, I just thought, Kel Watts would have thigh passed that straight back.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a calamity, isn't it, for Rossi? It almost feels like he was caught in two minds about what to do with it, whether to try and bring the ball under or sort of get rid, but he just does neither, really. And look, we can talk about the player Kyogo taking advantage of it. And obviously, he's a player that's played at the highest level, really. I think in France, and obviously played for Celtic. So clearly he's a player with that real quality. But like, even in League Two, like, realistically, if that's like an Accrington striker, you're probably giving him a one-on-one, and obviously they're not maybe going to finish it as clinically as what he did, but you're giving away a fantastic opportunity, basically. Just really, really poor from him. And at that point, you're thinking, like, it's just like the last thing you need. You just want to get in at half time. If there's a goal in it, you're always thinking, if the game goes on and it goes on and it goes on, and there's still, we're still very much in it. It's cliche, but like, anything can happen, magic of the cup and all that. But as soon as it goes 2-0, you did feel this a little bit sort of done, really, at that point. And it's just a horrible way to concede a goal, because it's something that we've just not seen from us really all season. We spoke about feeling reminiscent of last season, and this was kind of exactly it. Like, it felt like nothing had really happened in the game, but we're going into halftime 2-0 down, and you're like, don't really know even how that's happened, really, like a deflected goal and a bit of a calamity, and that's kind of what happens, really. But yeah, look, from Rossi, it's just not good enough. Look, to this pod and obviously the discussion we have, it could quite easily become almost like a character assassination of Rossi, given the performance that he put in and what happened with him. But I don't really think there's any need for that, to be fair. And I do feel a bit for him because he's been with us 4 years now, I think, coming up to four.
It's last year, isn't it? Yeah,
4 years, yeah, and he's never really had an extended run of games in the side, and part of that is because of injuries, and part of that is because every time he does seem to get the run of games, this performance does happen. But I think he's played well when he's come in, really. This season, particularly did well more recently, but also earlier in the season had a couple of appearances. I think he played at Fulham as well, for example, and did really well there. So we don't need to totally write him off, and it's not a case of kind of chucking the baby out of the bathwater with this sort of thing. But like, with the greatest respect, he's a fourth choice League Two centre back. Like, what do you expect? Like, he's going to have games like this, and he's playing against opposition where maybe there's an argument he's overthinking the quality of the players that are in front of him, if that makes sense. Because maybe the fact that he's playing against a player like Kyogo is just in his head a little bit. But I mean, it doesn't take too much mental gymnastics for me to think that, like, if that's Michael Morrison, if that's Kel Watts in that situation, we go into the break 1-0, and then who knows what happens.
Yeah. I actually didn't think Rossi had the worst evening apart from his involvement in the 3 goals. Early Birmingham chance in the second half as well, Caspell. Was it Kyogo again? Someone got through and lobbed eastward, and it just dropped wide, or clipped the post as it went wide. Was that a worry for you? Was that a warning sign for us not sort of learning our lesson, and the fact that we're trying to still play it out from the back, and those loose passes are going to be, seized upon, and they've got the quality to take those chances? Was that what's running through your head first few minutes of the second half?
I guess we stuck with the plan, right? We stuck with the plan. We clearly did have that plan to play out for them back. I do wonder partly if that's what featured in the second goal from Rossi, the brain fade, is that moment of thinking, hang about, we've been told to play out from the back. And by the time he's finishing that thought, obviously, he sort of top class striker has already taken the ball away from you, and it's basically the back of the net before you even know it. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a warning sign, but I don't think we changed the approach very much. Obviously, saw that from the third goal. Clearly, it was part of the plan was to play out from the back. You could argue it. I mean, there's a sort of weird world where it did start to work really late in the game. But I'm not sure. I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're a fickle bunch. We would be complaining a lot if we had just shunted the ball at Aparé's head for 70 minutes. He hadn't won anything. Mm-hmm. And then we'd lost the game 2-0. You'd be like, well, why aren't we playing to our strengths and trying to get it into his feet? The only way you're going to do that is if you play out from the back, because there is no long ball available with that set of personnel. But the flip side to that is if you're playing out from the back and you're playing against quality opposition like Birmingham, then mistakes will be made. Like, you are going to lose the ball, and it means you're going to lose the ball sometimes in your own third. Pick your poison, really. Like, there's a world for Rossi with the second goal where he doesn't look shit because he clubs the ball away. But if we club the ball away consistently for 90 minutes, we're not going to win the football match. We're not going to create any opportunities. We're not going to have any chances to score because we're not going to win any of those aerial battles. So it's difficult, isn't it? You want to strike a balance. But clearly they've been asked to play out from the back. Yes, that was a bit of a warning from Kyogo. He'd already given us a fair few warnings by scoring anyway. So
yeah. Well, despite all of that, despite that early chance and that warning, the third goal did actually take quite a while to arrive. It was sort of 78, something like that. Anyway, that third goal, Tom, a loose pass out again from your boy Rossi. Simple pass back in from Birmingham. Quite a nice little smart, cute finish into the bottom corner. Felt very avoidable. What are your thoughts on this goal? And is there any sympathy that you've got towards Rossi, given that the pass to him from Eastwood maybe shouldn't have come?
Not so much, to be honest. I think you at that point you're really trying hard just to kind of not be too critical. I think if you're I suppose the argument I make is actually the opposite thing. It feels like once he gives the ball away, the guy who scores, I think it's Dux, if I pronounce that correctly, just feels like a really easy goal, you know. And he just basically swivels and just rolls it into the corner. But yeah, look, it's all about losing the ball needlessly, really. And again, like we talk about the way that Kyogo punishes us for the second goal, but actually, this is another example of just like if you do this against a team who would be, well, I suppose, you know, a competitive championship side, but also one that's recently been at the top end of League One. If we're talking about that, you make mistakes like this, and it doesn't even have to be like a terminal mistake. It doesn't have to be like, you know, something that directly leads to a goal. If you just give them an opportunity, they can take advantage of it, and that's basically what happened. But yeah, I'm not looking at Eastwood too much for this. I'm looking at Rossi giving the ball away needlessly, to be honest. And that's where it comes from. Because until that point, I'm not saying we're not under any pressure. Because I know Birmingham are pushing and they're you know, sort of pressing up a little bit, but you know, it's the moment that sparks the move that finishes the game. So yeah, it's on Rossi, this one for me, unfortunately, again. And yeah, well, it's just it just got quite clinically taken advantage of.
3-0 at 78 minutes, Tom. People sat around me in the main stand, started to get up and leave. Before we talk about any Cambridge United goals, can I just check where you were at 78 minutes? Did you stay? Did you see the goals? Did you leave? Are there any witnesses?
I saw the whole damn thing, mate. Saw the whole damn thing, other than the very, very end of the first half. Yeah, this is really becoming a thing. I do go to the games. I do stay in the games. You know,
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. Sometimes just make ill-advised decisions about when to go for the halftime pint and when to return from it. But yeah, I saw all of it, mate.
Well, I just found it funny because it was quite a big exodus from the main stand at that point, sort of 78 minutes. Understandably at 3-0, but Caspell, we got a goal back, some great running from Apare. Yeah, what was your take on the goal and sort of Apare's contribution to it?
Apare did really well. I watched the highlights back with the TNT commentary, and the guy was loving saying Apare's name. I can't remember, he'd just seen the accents on the E's and he's just had an absolute field day, so go check out the highlights. He was very excited about that. I think Apare does really well. We're perhaps a little bit lucky with how it breaks down to Kaikai. I think it's like a defensive, like a tackle that just kind of rolls onto Kaikai.
I feel like he earned that luck though through like the running. So
well, I mean, yeah. The same thing I said about Birmingham's first goal, where you know having people entering the box when the ball breaks down is for sure a good thing in football. Having a second wave is exactly what we've done with that goal. So Kaikai's done a really good job and had a great cameo. And just done really well. He's quite instinctive. It just feels like quite an instinctive finisher to me. Kaikai is now obviously our outright overall top goal scorer. I think it's still quite a sort of middling single digit number, but he takes the finish really well. It looks no, it's not scuffed it, is he? Do we think he scuffed it? Something that's weird, like took a while to roll into the bottom corner. You think he's picked that out?
It's the same as the Birmingham third goal. It's a very well placed, gentle pass into the bottom corner. Not having any of this scuff chat.
Okay, well, that's a nice comparison for Kaikai. I mean, the guy who scored Birmingham's third has got 2 Germany caps and scored like 50 goals in the Bundesliga. So that's good for Sullay Kaikai. No, it's a really good finish. I mean, again, there's just notes of frustration around all of it because as soon as we scored that goal, it felt like the whole complexion of the game changed completely, which I know is a momentum thing and a football thing. But we really just proved in that final 15 minutes that we could have done a lot more in that football match to be more competitive. So it was great that it's much better than losing the game 3-0 and just getting completely trotted off or 10-1 as Exeter did obviously with Man City. But yeah, still a sort of weird bit of frustration in there anyway.
Tom, another set piece goal from the U's, a terrific hit from Kaikai this one. Your thoughts on the goal and what was going through your head at that moment? Did you think the great comeback was on?
Oh yeah, you got to think that. Yeah, it's a really, really, really good finish. Goal of the game, probably fair. In the game of 5 goals, not good stuff. But yeah, it was a good finish. I think this is where you do have to give us some credit. I think Because as Caspell just said, that again, there's another world where this game just peters out. You lose 3-0, and probably you're not sat here really taking too many positives from the game. But I suppose it's actually happened in a very different way to what you might expect. We've ended up setting up a bit of a grandstand finish with a team 2 leagues above us, and had we pulled it off, it obviously would have been brilliant. To sort of come from 3-0 down. But I think, if anything, it's just good to see us, scoring goals, basically, because and someone like Kaikai as well, who I think is a player of decent quality, particularly for the level that we play at. He's on that we'll look to, as much as we talked about Ben Knight in the sort of first part of it and what impact can he have on the rest of the season. You feel like Kaikai is hitting a bit of a groove. Obviously scores up at MK, scored against Accrington as well just before Christmas. So I think he's been on a decent run of form himself, and it's just good to see that kind of carrying on. But yeah, I mean, the FA Cup, you've always got to think there's a chance of something weird and wonderful happening. So when you see us very, very quickly close the gap from 3-0 to 3-2, and then you're looking at how much stoppage time is going to be added on and stuff, you're thinking, might not be over just yet, but yeah, good to see.
We were always going to get one last chance, Caspell. It fell to Parrington at the back stick and his header at the very end. Bit of a difficult chance, this one. What do you think? Should he maybe have tried to head it back across goal for someone else, or do you think he did the right thing trying to get a header on target?
I think it's all he had. As in, I think he does really well to climb and win it. He's obviously paired up against their fullback, not the biggest. Don't know who the player actually is, but Parrington's got a good size advantage on him. He does quite well to win it. I think just isn't able to put it on target. I do think if you're being mega critical, yeah, perhaps he could have nodded it back at 6-yard box area and just seen what happened. But I'm not expecting anyone at that point of the game to do anything other than just try and fashion it on target. Nearly gets it on target. I mean, it would have been a hell of a thing to watch if we come back. I'm not sure what the fog would have done in extra time. Could have been quite interesting, seeing as how foggy it was starting to get. But yeah, just one of those things. I mean, I'm not sure we deserved to take it to extra time. Just would have been fun to see if we had done.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up the match action, any performances of note that you want to call out? Anyone that we haven't really praised so far in the pod?
Walker, any of their multi-million talents you want to call out, or our players?
Not particularly, to be honest. Well,
let's have Job. I'll have Job. Let's have a bit of Job.
Yeah, I thought Job had a good night.
He was on top. He was one of the top rated players in the match. He had the most touches in the opposition box out of anyone, which just proves that he's a complete beast.
Thought Bennett looked quite exciting second half as well.
Yeah, Bennett was lively. I'll give you that on Bennett.
Could I counteract your positivity with a slight negative?
Oh, fucking hell. Go on, man.
Like this is nothing new. We're crying out for reinforcements up front, aren't we? I think that's one area of the pitch that is just desperate to be addressed. And
it's day 11 of January, Tom. Where are they? Where the hell are they?
What I was going to say was, since Lavery's come back from injury, he's not contributed a lot, really. And look, we're judging him against Birmingham, right? And they're obviously a decent side, and it's arguably probably the toughest game he's played in all season. And I think he started at Fulham, actually, didn't he? So maybe the second toughest, but it's a tough game. And he's just not impacted anything, really, since he came back in. And that's something you want to see sooner rather than later, because obviously we don't want to be too reliant on Lavery for obvious reasons, but you do expect a certain level of quality from him when he is on the pitch, and that's not been there really since he came back. And obviously it was there when he was first playing for us this season, or was it around like September time or something, when he was getting on the end of one or two things and getting in the right places. But that's one performance that just keep an eye on it, because you do want to see him contribute rather than later. Probably needs a goal, I guess, to sort of get back in the groove of things. But yeah, if you want to ask about performances, probably just like top end of the pitch. Again, same thing.
Yeah, he really could have done with burying some of those good chances away at Chesterfield. I felt like he had more offsides against him than shots on Saturday night. I'll give you that. We've got Kaikai for the finishing though, so that's all good. Both of you, I want your thoughts on, now that we're out of all cup competitions this season, what your thoughts on how it's been as a season for the cup competitions. It feels like it's been a good return, big night out away at Fulham, third round of the FA Cup. Caspell, are you happy with what you've seen in the cups this year, or are you disappointed that we're not still in the Ver2?
This feels like Ver2 bait. I was about to say this stinks of Ver2 bait. I feel it coming a mile off.
Is he going to nibble?
I just don't care about the FA Cup. The Ver2 was there. I felt like we had one hand on the Ver2 and we've clanged it. No, it's been, to be honest, it's maybe it's a Cambridge United, maybe we've just become conditioned to this now over 25 years. I just feel like any cup excitement of any description when you're Cambridge United is like a bonus any season. I just think we have no God-given right to necessarily get to the FA Cup third round. And that is a promising thing. And then League Cup this year, since the cup we've recent years anyway, we've never made any progress in at all, really. And that was just quite a fun night. Like taking 5,000 fans to Fulham is great. Would have obviously been fun with Birmingham if we'd managed to, complete that turnaround and then extend that. But what is nice about this is that we are in the best shape we've been in terms of league campaign all season so far. What is depressing about FA Cup when you drop out is if you're like 15th in the league and you're left with a sense at full time that that's it. There's nothing left. Like I've got nothing to look forward to in footballing terms now for the rest of the season, but it does just feel like we will bounce back against Fleetwood. We will brush off this. We won't be talking about the FA Cup in even a couple of weeks' time, because we will be talking about storming into the automatics with that easy run of games we've got coming up in February. So let's get
the league still unbeaten in the league, Caspell.
That's what we're going to have to say now, isn't it? 10 unbeaten. We have to reset the clock to 10. But 10 is still pretty impressive. We're 2 games away from doing a quarter of the season unbeaten. So in the league, that is good going. If we keep up our league form, we will be talking about automatics within the next couple of weeks, irrespective of what we do in the transfer window. So,
Tom, you get to wrap the pod up by rolling that cliche about how important it is to now be focusing on the league, or how you're happy that we'd get to focus on the league and the real job of getting promoted.
Yeah, I am. Like, I'm happy that we've got like potentially a positive league season to sort of focus on. Like in years gone by, the cup has been sort of quite welcome relief, really, because the league stuff's been so depressing. And this season it's kind of the opposite. Like it's a nice bonus, but you don't want it to detract from what's going on in the league. So it's important we get back to that, and maybe it offers quite a nice reset. Obviously it'll be a couple of weeks now, given the Grimsby postponement. It'll be a couple of weeks between league fixtures, which hopefully helps to reset the mind a little bit. We've got a you never want to kind of look ahead too much, but we've got a kinder run of fixtures coming up soon, so there's an opportunity there to really kind of make a bit of a statement in terms of what our ambitions are, which I think should have raised really from a team that would look to get in the playoffs to one that should look to get in the top 3. But obviously focus on the league, but I think the window is important now. Caspell mentioned there, irrespective of what happens in the transfer window, but I do think it's important that we're addressing some of those positions that we're just a bit short in. Obviously, Mayer's injury, presents one challenge. Clearly, what's been going on with the centre forwards, or not been going on with the centre forwards this season, is another one. So there's a couple of areas that need addressed, and I think that's really important. But if we can get that right and we can do that effectively, then yeah, for sure, it'll be a good, hopefully a good rest of the season to look forward to. And we've got every opportunity to go on and make it a memorable one, I guess.
Important to focus on the league, Caspell. It's also important to focus on the fact there is a great Greek sandwich waiting for you at number 1, Ferry Path, the world famous skepasti. Didn't think I was going to forget, did you? We're going to close out the pod with a reminder of our sponsors, the Old Spring. Head down there for some glorious UTAS discounts on match day, and also not on match day if you've got a season ticket or a ticket for a recent game. Gents, it has been an absolute pleasure. We go again off to Fleetwood. We'll be back on Friday with your Friday preview pod. Tom, thanks for your time, buddy.
Yeah, as always, Jord, a pleasure.
Caspell, thanks for your time.
All good, mate.